Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Licensing Committee, Thursday, 14th of March, 2024. Do we have any apologies, please? Sorry.
Councillor Sandu.
Thank you.
I've not received any apologies.
Thank you. Vote items, I don't have any. Any declarations of interest? Nope. Item 4, minutes of the meeting held on 25th of January. Any comments or... Everybody happy? Move the minutes? Yeah. Thank you. So Angela's off sunning herself, so we have Charles stepped into the breach tonight. So item 5 is the boat person licensing policy review. Over to you, thank you.
Thanks, Chair, and evening members. Charles Edwards, Interim Director of Communities. I've brought Pop Gill along with me. Many members will know Pop, who is Interim Head of Community Safety and Licensing. So Pop's coming on tonight to take away any questions that we might get. As the Chair has mentioned, Andrew Rawson, who's our Service Manager for Licensing, has put together these reports. So if there are any questions arising, I'll try and answer them as best as possible. But just to caveat, we may need to take them away with us. So apologies in advance if that happens. So agenda item 5, the boat and boat persons licensing policy review. So the report asks members to consider the results of the consultation into the review of the boat and boat person licensing policy and approve amendments proposed to the attached policy with immediate effect. As a reminder for members of this committee, legislation allows the Council to take regulatory responsibility for the licensing of vehicles and vessels and the boatmen in charge of them operating them within the City of Derby, as set out in Section 94 of the Public Health Act amends Act 1907. The Act allows the authority to grant licences for both remits and attach such conditions as it feels necessary and appropriate to ensure that such activities are carried out in a safe and controlled framework consistent with licensing practices across all other strands of licensing. So for a little bit of history and context, the policy was developed to guide applicants, members and anyone involved in the process as to the requirements of Derby City Council and became effective from April 2021. As with all policies, there is fluidity in the ability to review and in fact it's good practice to revisit and re-evaluate them on a regular basis. As this policy was running for more than 12 months, it was felt appropriate to carry out a review. And on June 29th, 2023, the committee released the policy for a 12-week public consultation. One response was received as part of that consultation exercise. That's attached as Appendix 1 as part of your documents, and that was received from the Derby and Sandiacre Canal Trust. The contents of the response was evaluated at length and discussed with a number of officers within the council. Those considerations are attached as Appendix 2. I'm not going to go through them line by line, Chair. I hope members have had opportunity to read them. You'll note in there that on a number of the points raised as part of the consultation, no changes to the policy will be made, but there are occasions where the council has determined that the consultation requires a change to the policy, and that's clear on the right-hand side of that document. As I say, amendments in line with the regulation, practice and legal advice have been incorporated in the updated policy as at Appendix 3. So I'm therefore asking the committee today to consider the responses to the consultation document as Appendix 1 and 2 of this report, and then approve the amended boat and boat person licensing policy as Appendix 3 of this report with immediate effect. Happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to know, in Appendix 2, with the consultations, how many people did consult? It doesn't say. And who, and if there's any council officers, are we allowed to know who they were?
I understand that the consultation process just followed the consultation process that the council normally runs, which is through our consultation team. It was run, I believe, for a 12-week period. Public consultation, that does go public in terms of how we publicise those consultations, but we only received one response overall, so no further responses from other internal services or any other teams. It was just the one response we received.
Okay, thank you for that. If I can, so really, we can't consider that a consultation, can we? It's only one.
Well, the consultation has been followed, it's just that there was no responses apart from the boat person themselves.
It ought to be apparent on the document, in my opinion, that we had one on the actual one that we're agreeing to. But that's all.
This is on 4.8.
Oh, sorry, I stand corrected. It says it on 4.8. Councillor Smale, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Wright, then Councillor Potter.
Yeah, it's not on the consultation, it's on the policy itself at 3.2. It's just a query that around the public liability insurance, whether that covers all the relevant risks and whether the amount is relevant. I just wondered whether we'd run that past the insurance team to make sure it's fit for purpose should anything go wrong.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor, for the question. Just firstly, the 5 million minimum public liability insurance certificate was part of the old process or the old policy. That isn't something that has changed on this occasion. So that's been carried through since the policy's been in place since 2021. Just in regards to answering the point more fully, operation of the boat is a commercial enterprise, and from that perspective, our insurance or our insurance team wouldn't take a view on that, as it's not work that's being undertaken on behalf of the council. Having said that, and importantly, it is though for our licensing team to be satisfied that that setting the provision out in the policy document that it can justify the level of cover it stipulates. Unfortunately, I'm not sure without consultation with Ange, who's proposed that. I'm not without consultation without Ange about the adequacy of the factors that have been taken on board and how she's determined that 5 million is an appropriate public liability threshold. So to answer the question in its entirety, I'd have to speak to Angie about that. But as I say, just to stress, that isn't something that's changed as a result of this consultation process, Chair.
Councillor Potter.
Thanks, Chair. In the Appendix 2 at page 3, there is a section 4. It says that on the authority's appraisal of comments, a declaration can be introduced which must be signed by their GP. The authority's response now to the consultation is replacing wording policy to read medical declaration signed by GP. Is that any GP or does it still have to be their GP? Thank you.
I would assume it would have to be their GP, Chair. That's how they would get that signed off.
Charlie, could I suggest, I think the point made is quite a good one. We have seen that create conflicts, certainly on taxi licensing in the past. It probably is worth just inserting that word from own GP, so it's clear and beyond doubt.
Yeah, we can do that through you, Chair. Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Any further comments? Okay, so recommendations 2.1, committee consider responses to the consultation document at Appendix 1 and 2 of this report. Is everybody okay with that? And 2.2, that the committee approve the amended boat and boat person licensing policy at Appendix 3 of this report with immediate effect. Okay, got your hand up for a question, or you approve? Yep, right, okay. All agreed?
Chair, just to be clear, I'm assuming that's on the basis that we insert that word that Councillor Potter has recommended.
Sorry, yes, that will be minuted, Jackie, that we insert the word own for doctor. So I move on to item 6, which is Gambling Act review. Charles, again, sorry, over to you.
Thanks, Chair. So the purpose, Derby City Council is designated licensing authority under the Gambling Act 2005 and is required to produce a statement of principles which sets out how it will exercise its functions under the Act. This statement also informs individuals making applications for a licence of the authority's standards and values in promoting the licensing objectives within the framework of the Act and approved guidance issued by the Gambling Commission under that Act. So the Gambling Act Statement of Principles was first published in October 2006 and is required to be reviewed every 3 years. The last review was undertaken in 2021. Before determining or revising its content, the authority must consult widely on its draft proposals. A revised draft Statement of Principles is set out at Appendix 1 for committee's consideration. It is proposed that the document undergoes a 12-week consultation period to enable comments to be received. Responses to the consultation will be considered, demographics updated and referred to the licensing committee at a future meeting to agree a final statement which will subsequently be referred to full council for ratification. There may also be some legislative changes prior to the document being submitted to committee post-consultation. Any such changes will be included in the final statement where possible. The final revised Statement of Principles should be published by the end of December 2024 and will need to come into effect before the 31st of January 2025. The recommendation, Chair, is to approve the draft Statement of Principles set out at Appendix 1 to be released for consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that? No questions. Okay, so can we approve 2.1, the recommendation to approve the draft Statement of Principles for release for consultation purposes? All happy? Thank you. Oh, moving swiftly on to item 7, which is the Licensing Service Business Review. And once again, Charles, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So the purpose of this report is for noting, so again, Derby City Council is the designated licensing authority for over 16 areas of statutory licensing functions, each within its own legislative constraints. So the recommendation today to members is to note the contents of this report, and I will just run through the report given we've got a little bit of time to do so. Reasons for the report: as a licensing authority, run on a cost recovery basis wherever possible. It is important that business reviews are carried out on a regular basis, not only to secure value for money for the customer, but also to ensure that our licensing team is providing an effective and efficient service to users. The report not only highlights some of the areas undergoing a business review, but also introduces some of the other business elements which may come before the committee over the next 12 months. The largest area and the subject on which we are starting our business review journey is within the taxi licence element of our business. At the time of writing this report, you'll see our taxi and private hire stock consists of, and the report provides members of this committee with the numbers. There is evidence to show that there has been a reduction in all areas since 2020 as per the table below. To ensure that our customers of and visitors to Derby are provided with the best possible options in the long term, we know we need to grow our stock. This review is intended to root out the challenges facing those applying for licences, particularly and initially in the taxi trade, when applying to us to be licensed. Whilst our requirements are robust and well within statutory standards, some of the process underpinning them may be seen to be outdated and therefore require updating, whether this is digitalising certain aspects of the testing criteria and or removing any pinch points in the application process of any subject. The review will include visits to authorities near and far to oversee their processes and to source out any good practice we can inherit as part of our review. Making our processes smoother may entice some drivers back to Derby, which in turn may have an impact on the problem of cross-border hiring, as we would have a healthy stock to facilitate the trade customers' requirements. As some members may recall, in 2019, the Taxi Private Hire Vehicle Strategy 2020 was approved, subject to some amendments relative to the proposed age and emissions policy. A summary of the agreed criteria is there below. As mentioned in point 1 above, older vehicles will be required to undergo an ECVC, the details of which will be presented to this committee in due course. A petition has been received from a group of members of the Hackney trade requesting further time in which to change their vehicles. This will also come before this committee for consideration later in the year. Business review updates will be provided to the committee on a regular basis, and any direct reports will be scheduled into the meeting as required. That concludes the report, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions on the review.
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm just a comment really on section 4.4, the use of the word subtle reduction, because I think it's very subjective using that word, because like, for example, PHO is a 0.6% reduction compared to HCV where there's a 25.7% reduction, and I don't think that's 25% is a subtle reduction. So it's just me being picky.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. You may have noted from my reading out of the report I didn't use the word subtle, and that's partly because I agree with your comments. I think in some of those areas it's not a subtle reduction, and clearly we need to do more to improve those numbers.
Thank you. Councillor Rapp.
A couple of points. 3.1, the reasons. I think secure value for money and providing effective, efficient service to users are both laudable, but I would have preferred to see more specific objectives in a review like this. I mean, it sort of alludes to the sort of issues like around cost savings, more efficient, safer for users, because it'd be difficult to actually look back on this and say whether it's been a success or not. That would be my first point. And secondly, the council's invested in a lot of money in artificial intelligence. It would seem to me it's highly likely some of the underlying business processes would be entirely suitable for application of that project in order, for example, to make cost savings. So I think again it's something that would be usefully inserted in terms of one of the objectives of the review.
Thanks, Chair. I think Councillor makes a really good point. Thank you for those. Just to stress that this review isn't about cost savings. We don't want the service to make any savings. What we do want is the service to improve the process of applying for a licence, and that's why we've included some of the information we have. We would like them to, of course, generate some more income, but that is partly because we want more drivers to be licensed by Derby City. Therefore, its sort of primary objective is to improve that process for those that are applying for licences in the city. I think the point about AI is a really good point. The council is embarking on a fantastic artificial intelligence journey, and this seems like a business area that could have some focus on that. Just to go a little further on that point, our licence and service business review has been at the heart of some conversations and a partnership that we've embarked on with Toyota, who are supporting us with lean process mapping, and our licence and service business review has been at the heart of that.
And also to add to that, Angela and I are going to go to visit Wolverhampton, seeing as they know how to do everything. So we're going to see how they do their process. Councillor Khan, I think.
Thank you, Chair. 4.11, petition. You received a petition from Hackney Trade. When was the petition received? Is that the same petition that was received last year, or you received a new one?
It was received.
It's this year, but I can't tell you exactly when it was received. But it's a new one for this year.
I think there was one received last year also. I don't know if it's that one or another one.
It was about 2 months ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was one received last year, Chair, but the one that's referenced here in this report was received earlier this year.
We'll be going into that once officers have looked into it. It might be at the next committee.
Because why I've raised that, Chair, because I think Lucy and me, when I was the chair last year, we received one outside by the Hackney Trade requesting that. I don't know if you recall that or not, but that's...
What was that request? What was that in regard to?
Yeah, I think extension, similar what it says here.
Well, I for one wasn't told about that, so I can't tell you. Was it ever brought to committee or what?
And Lucy, Care and me had to accept that petition from them.
Yeah, we'll need to come back and find that out and come back to you on that, because none of us are aware of it, to be perfectly honest. So it's a question we'll ask. Angela was here last year anyway, so she'd remember it. Was Angela here?
Yes.
Was Angela the officer? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, the petition referenced in the report was received on the 6th of February this year, but I will pick up Councillor Khan's point and make sure that we're aware of that as part of these considerations. So if you leave that with us, Chair, we can come back and clarify that point.
Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's always good to sort of review our own policies and look at making sure that we're giving the best experience that we can for applicants. And I appreciate the bulk of the review will be about what's in our own power and what we can do to improve that experience, and so increase the number of applications that we have. But a factor in all of that is the national legislation and the ability for applicants to go to other local authorities. So I'm wondering, as part of this review, are we considering any changes that we might be wanting to, or any representations we might be wanting to make to national government as well, to make it a sort of comprehensive review of the whole process?
By all means, we can ask again, but I don't know if you were on the LGA training day that we had, and it's a well-known fact that every government doesn't want to touch it, and they don't. Or, I mean, I think there's some papers being written up now, but only up until the next election, and then it all goes back to square one again. And unfortunately, that's where we are with it all. So we've asked this government on a couple of occasions, so that's all we can do, is keep asking, but until a government does something, we're at stalemate.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that's the point really, is it's out of our control, and that they'll make the decision as to what we do, but I think it is important that we continue to highlight the issues that we suffer, the issues that we have on the ground, and continue to do that to government, so that hopefully at some point they'll accept someone somewhere will accept the arguments and hopefully make some changes.
100%, yeah, agree with you. Any further questions?
Chair, I just need to clarify the date that I just shared so it's accurate, please. It wasn't the 6th of February in which we received that petition, it was the 29th of January 2024. So just to confirm, the petition was received on the 29th of January. Have we concluded that item, Chair? Sorry. It relates to a separate matter that I just need to share with the committee.
Yeah, so all items concluded and, oh no, we haven't, because we haven't approved that item yet. Because Ollie's confusing me. So, item 7, recommendation 2.1 to note the contents of report. Okay, is everybody happy? Thank you. That concludes the meeting. Thank you very much.
Chair, sorry, I just do have a point to share just after that recommendation's been approved, if that's okay. Sorry, members, just bear with me just for 30 seconds. Members of this committee would be, I'm assuming, expecting fees and charges to be implemented as of the 1st of April, which would have an impact on the fees that are charged to anybody applying for a licence as of the 1st of April. We've had a lawful challenge to some of those proposals. That means that those changes are not going to be implemented as of the 1st of April. I'm not able to share any further details at this stage, but yourself as chair will be briefed on that matter, and then it will come back to committee when appropriate.
Thank you for that clarification. We shall wait. Oh, right, okay. Thank you very much for your